Our democracy's founding ideals were false when they were written. Black Americans have fought to make them true. This is a powerful quote from Nicole Hannah-Jones' essay in the 1619 Project. It challenges us to think differently about the founding of America, not as a perfect beginning, but as start marked by deep contradictions, particularly around the issue of slavery. Welcome to Redefining America, the hidden truths of the 1619 Project. I'm your host, Jahani D. Tyfield, and today we're diving into the ways this groundbreaking project reinterprets American history in a role that Black Americans have played in shaping the ideals we so often take for granted. The 1619 Project has sparked national discussion since it was first published by the New York Times in 2019. Its goal is to reframe the history of the United States by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the center of the national narrative. The year 1619, when the first enslaved Africans were brought to Virginia, becomes a critical lens through which we can analyze the development of this country, not just socially, but economically and politically as well. Nicole Hannah-Jones argues that Black Americans have been at the forefront of making American democracy what it is today. Although the founding ideals of freedom, equality, and liberty were enshrined in the Constitution, they were denied to Black Americans, yet it is through the efforts of Black Americans, through their struggle for civil rights, for justice, for equality, that those ideals have moved closer to reality. This reframing is vital because it challenges the master narrative of American history, the version that typically starts in 1776 with the Declaration of Independence, focusing on the achievements of the Founding Fathers and glossing over the deep racial inequalities embedded in the very fabric of the nation. The 1619 Project shines a light on this hidden narrative by revealing how central slavery was to America's economy and growth. For example, much of the early wealth that funded American institutions, from universities to the banking industry, was derived from the labor of enslaved people. The project doesn't just stop at historical analysis, it extends it to contemporary issues connecting slavery's legacy to modern disparities in wealth, health, and education that disproportionately affect Black communities. One of the most eye-opening arguments presented in the 1619 Project is that much of the nation's democracy itself was shaped by Black Americans. From the abolitionist movement to the civil rights movement to push to expand voting rights and demand full participation. Voting rights and demand full participation in democracy has always been championed by Black Americans. The idea of appropriation and destruction plays a crucial role in this narrative. The lives, labor, and stories of enslaved Africans. The idea of appropriation and destruction plays a crucial role in this narrative. The lives, labor, and stories of enslaved Africans were appropriated, stolen to build the wealth and identity of a burgeoning nation. Yet through all of this, Black Americans have contributed to the very foundation of what democracy means in the U.S. Yet through all of this, Black Americans have contributed to the very foundation of what democracy means in the U.S. What we often think of as American is inextricably linked. Yet through all of this, Black Americans have contributed to the very foundation of what democracy means in the U.S. What we often think of as American is inextricably linked to the African American experience in a sense. The fighting to turn false ideals into true ones represents the larger aesthetic issue, destruction as part of a creative process, destroying myths to create a fuller, more accurate history. What fascinates me most about the 1619 Project is how it highlights that America's progress has often come from the margins. The very people who were once excluded from the promise of freedom have been at the center of pushing the nation to live up to its ideals. All right, guys, thank you for joining me in this episode of Redefining America, the hidden truths of the 1619 Project. I encourage you to explore the 1619 Project more deeply, whether through the Essays podcast or even the Hulu docuseries. Pay that subscription. And consider how the re-examination of the history might change your perspective on what it means to be American today. Until next time, keep questioning the stories we've been told and seek out the narratives we haven't heard enough of.